Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Instant gratification, episode 6. It's been 4 months.
Hi, everybody. I hope you've been doing well.
Joseph's back, guys. Joseph, the last time you were sitting on this couch, the world was
Much more optimistic than it is now. That's for darn skippy sure.
the world did not look like how it looks right now.
It's completely different. It's like 5 years ago.
I also feel like you're like basically my co-host now. What's
Yeah.
going to happen when I move to LA?
Zoom.
So I still haven't figured out the Zoom podcast situation.
Well, you have to get first thing, Zoom, no free ads. But second, so we have to use Zoom, and you have to buy like a premium account that allows you to record and edit and like have like multiple guests on it. You can use the Zoom free and record that, but it has a limited functioning on it.
Yeah, I've used Zoom for like workouts. Mm-hmm. I've done some like workout classes, which has been like amazing. But life has been pretty much us staring at a screen a lot.
I've watched so much TV. I've
Really?
consumed so much. Yes.
I weirdly I binged The Sopranos, and that was it.
Really?
Yeah, I haven't binged anything else. I've seen documentaries. I've seen like the fact that I'm still rewatching New Girl for like the 10th time is like that's I have a theory, and I feel like this theory is supported. When we start watching like The Office, like Parks and Rec, like New Girl, like over and over and over again, it's because like we need like a reminder like of comfort where like things are not changing. Like those worlds don't change. So us seeing those shows again after every once in a while, like whenever we're going through a rough time in our lives, like that's like the constant, you know?
I forget who it was that just came out with a study that said that people will re-binge their favorite TV shows because they know what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
And it gives them a sense of security. And lessens their anxiety.
Yes.
Because there's kind of a predestination element to it.
No, I totally agree.
Yeah.
And I think like especially right now, it's like anything that resembles like the world that we lived in before this is like we'll take that.
Yeah.
But I mean, so guys, like Joe and I are, still living in New York City through the pandemic, and I'm actually heading out in 2 weeks because I decided before the pandemic, I kind of was already thinking about LA as an option. And
you've been talking about it for a little while.
Yeah. So then like the pandemic happened, and I was like, okay, like what am I actually waiting for here? And then after hearing that like all the theaters are done pretty much for the rest of the year, I just feel like, why would I keep doing this to myself? Okay. This is what I feel about New York City. It's like, the reason that we can live in New York City in the living situations that we do with several roommates, small, tiny spaces, always cramped up with people in the subway, in places like wherever we go, we're always surrounded by people. The only reason that we can do that is because we don't spend that much time at home. So we're constantly out and about doing stuff. And that's okay. You don't need a lot of space if you're literally always out. You just have I remember when we're hustling, when there's times when we're hustling and doing shit, like this is where I just literally go and flop down, sleep, and I get back up and I keep moving. I'm not here spending time at the apartment. You know what I mean? But this pandemic has taught me that like I don't know how sustainable this life is, if that makes sense.
Dollars and cents. It's not
so
very.
Lame.
Got dad jokes for days,
I
baby.
know.
No, that makes total sense. I mean, it's not sustainable, and that's the apprehension that comes with pursuing a life in the arts, is you don't know where your next paycheck is going to come from.
We really don't know now.
Yeah.
There's really no paychecks coming in right now.
There are so many artists that are out of work right now, and the first place that people have turned to is Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime. all these streaming services, and now we're running out of content
We're
to watch.
literally running out of content. Yeah.
And
I'm afraid.
well, I think we're gonna see. We're gonna see. I think we're seeing a little bit of it right now, kind of a forceful return to the norm in areas where they're not necessarily prepared to return normally, and I'm afraid that we're gonna see that in this industry, and we're already starting to see. For those of you that don't know, Equity, the Stage Actors Union, has laid out guidelines for return to work, and pretty much no theaters are ready to do that.
You can't do it. Yeah, you can't.
And there are non-union theaters, some here and there across the country, that are skirting these union guidelines and doing full productions of non-equity shows right now. But there are very, very few precautions that are being taken to ensure the safety of the audience members and the cast and crew involved, and as well as operations
And it's
staff.
a ticking time bomb because listening to the podcasts of comedians that I listen to from LA, like Joe Rogan and like a bunch of, I don't even want to like name drop right now, but I will. Okay, so like Brian Callen, which is like a big comedian in LA, and then like Neil Brennan. I listen to all these podcasts, and Brian Callen and his like co-host for his podcast, Brendan Schaub, they went to Austin because Texas is doing it. They were doing it. This is before they shut down. They were having shows. So these comedians that have been like out of a job, like all of us, because they can't perform, they went down to Texas and Florida to do shows. They got COVID.
Yeah.
And they were so cocky about it beforehand. They were kind of questioning even like the legitimacy of COVID, like what, like it's just a flu, this and that, or whatever. They were, because they wanted to go back to work. And I remember in the beginning of this, I was apprehensive about the lockdown. I was sort of like, I'm unemployed now. So unless you give me like a really, really good fucking reason as to why a young, healthy person cannot go back to work right now, I'm kind of pissed. And I was like, I'm healthy, I'm constantly active, I'm young, I'm most likely going to survive this, right? Give me my job back. But the problem is that like my job doesn't just depend on me being healthy and young. My patrons have to be healthy and young.
Yeah.
Like, and that's not a guarantee at all. That I'm not going to affect, or us being together isn't going to affect someone, It's difficult.
The bar that I work at shut down immediately. I think it was it was the Ides of March, not even the Ides of March. And they shut down instantaneously as soon as like...
Actually, your bar is the last bar I went to.
Yeah?
Yeah, but it was... Yeah. You guys shut down... I'll tell you exactly because I was there the last day.
Yeah.
Sat the 14th.
That was the Saturday. Sunday.
I was there the last day.
So they were open Sunday the 5th.
Sunday. You were.
And they actually...
I worked Sunday.
And they closed... I think they shut down early Sunday night and sent out the email, I think, in the early evening that told us we're closed down for the foreseeable future.
Right.
And our general manager, who is just a fantastic human being, laid out the information for us to apply for unemployment, and said we're going to keep you updated throughout this process. And
I mean,
it sucked.
I'm starting to get, and I feel like a lot of people are starting to get little like, okay, in 2 weeks, this is it. Yeah. Unemployment's done. Like, pandemic relief is done. And part of me is like, I'm already like obviously applying for jobs and things like that because I would love to have a job in which like I can work from home, and I'm applying for those too. But like, if it gets to that point where I actually have to go out and work every day, I'm going to have to do that. There's no other option, and I'm going to try to be the most safe that I can be. But like, I have to survive. And the big question is like, can we really afford without we're heading towards an economic collapse out of proportions that we've never seen before. is continuing to pump out money, fake money into the economy to help unemployment and to help people that are struggling through COVID, is that going to be the demise?
Well,
can we even afford to do that?
Well, I think, first of all, when people talk about money, when you say, oh, I need to make money, there's this notion that if you make money, it's like, oh, when you make money, what do you create it? Are you like, does your actual job create the dollar bill that you get in your pocket, your bank account?
Right.
And that's not
No.
true. I mean, the truth is, when you make money, you're not making something out of nothing. When you're earning money, you're just earning a larger percentage of the pie that already exists.
Yeah, it's already
and that's
there.
a pie of the entire value of the U.S. dollar.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, like, for example, the the largest pie owner in the United States is Bezos. So this is one thing, like when we talk about marginal tax rates, this is something that would kind of help fix. And the marginal tax rates that are being proposed by people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez are not even the most progressive that we've ever had. She's talking about taxing 70% of every dollar that's earned above $10 million, which it's a very small portion of the population that earns that much money. And they earn so much money that it would hardly, it hardly dents their income. And you look at somebody like Jeff Bezos, it's harmful to the economy to stockpile that much money.
Right. But if we don't take from someone has to give in, right? It's either going to be the taxpayer or rich people, corporations, which a lot of them do not pay taxes. So like we have to take from
Catholic
someone.
churches.
Yes, churches. Like we have to take from someone because we can't just make it. Because if we make the money, if we pump money into the economy, then the money is going to be worthless. So at that point, even if you have money, it's not going to mean anything. You're not going to be able to buy anything with it. And that's my fear, that we're going to go into inflation in which, like, you can have all the pumped in unemployment money you want in your bank account. Yeah. But what are you going to buy with it? Is anybody going to respect it outside of the U.S.? Because what's happening right now, it's like the dollar is not doing well.
No, it's not. Well, I don't think there are many dollars that are doing well in countries,
a lot of countries
and in the countries that are being hit hard by COVID.
Right. To me, it's just very scary. And I think what's most scary is that, like, as artists, when you wake up and you realize that you've lost all your methods of income because of the industry that you are part of is not considered essential for this country to survive, that's devastating. Not only devastating because that puts you in like a financial sort of conundrum, but it's devastating as someone who, like, we chose to be in this industry, and definitely not for the money. Definitely not for the money.
I didn't choose the life. Life chose me.
It chose me. But I, no pun intended, it's like we're the most unessential in this country.
During World War II, the English Parliament suggested cutting funds to arts. And Winston Churchill replied, then what are we fighting for?
Yeah.
Art is essential. And if anybody disagrees, then I challenge them to go the rest of their quarantine without turning on don't turn on a TV, don't turn on a radio, don't read a book. Yeah. Don't look at anything that was created by an artist. Nothing.
And I think so many, and specifically in this country, like our government has, like, we're so far from that because there is no money being, Equity didn't even give us any money.
Equity couldn't really.
SAG gave people every person $1,000.
Yeah. Well, Equity's been hemorrhaging money for years, and they recently upped the dues. and that money was just enough to bring their website up to date. They're getting better. They've made significant
I've
advancements.
questioned my membership, to be honest. What have you done for me lately, Union?
And that's a fair question to ask given your specific work situation, and I can't fault you for that. Nobody can.
I mean,
it depends. You use the union when it's effective for you, and if it's not feasible for you to be a member, then you do what's right for you.
That's something that I'm definitely going to have to think about, to be honest, because especially like moving to LA, there's just not going to be as many opportunities theater wise. Just like there's not as much TV opportunities here as compared to LA. It's just different places. But it's a real fucking slap in the face.
Advice that a friend of mine gave me: hang on to the equity membership until you go SAG, and then keep both for a little bit of time.
Right.
And just so that just keep your options open to see which, if your career starts to take a firm path, then you've got your answer.
Right. It's the world is different, and
oh god, yeah.
And what has helped, I think, is knowing that it's different for everybody. And this is like, I feel like when in our lifetime, never in our lifetime, never. Mm-hmm. Maybe for older people, World War II, they felt like they were all globally, everyone was kind of going through something. Mm-hmm. But a lot of countries were not affected by the war. This is affecting the whole world. And how did we get to be the epicenter, the world superpower, biggest epicenter of death and like COVID infestation?
I don't know, Miriam. How political do you want to get?
No, I definitely, we can get political, but whatever we're gonna say here is not anything that hasn't been said.
Yeah,
we know what it is. We know, and if you don't know by now, you don't want to know. You don't care to know.
There is a fantastic play written by Peter Sagal, who hosts Wait, Don't Tell Me on NPR. Mm-hmm. That's like the celebrity, like pop culture quiz show. This is a play called Denial, and it's about a Holocaust revisionist going to court, and he's suing for his First Amendment rights.
Can you see my crotch? I feel like the one thing that's consistent in this show is that that my crotch is like there's like a half a second of my crotch in this show. I can't, but if our viewers can at home, comment below.
There's no prize. Well, I mean, you've already got the prize. So, but anyway, the play is about a Holocaust revisionist that goes to court to protect his First Amendment rights, and he hires a Jewish defense lawyer, who's like a First Amendment absolutist. Like everybody has the right to free speech.
Right.
And it's a fantastic exploration into just how, how far will you go to defend your principles? Oof. And I think I highly recommend it. Denial by Peter Sagal. And I highly recommend it because it's a play near and dear to me. I directed it in undergrad.
Yeah.
And everybody that was involved with it, I mean, we knew that we were talking about something important. And the audiences loved it. I wish we could have publicized it, but we actually had, there were neo-Nazi student groups on campus, and so we did not, because it's First Amendment rights. Everybody's got to be able to have their say, and so we did not advertise the show, but it still sold pretty well for an undergrad show.
When does racism get to be First Amendment protected? And that's like the biggest thing. A lot of what we're dealing with right now is that.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, this all encompasses the same thing. A First Amendment unfortunately also gives you the right to be ignorant and stupid. You can, under the First Amendment, you can be racist. You can be sexist. You can be homophobic. You can be Islamophobic. You can be anti-Semitic. You can be anti-mask.
Because for some reason or another, if people feel like if we regulate the sort of like those points of view, then you're opening it up to regulate every point of view. And that is a fair, not that I agree with it, but that is a fair way of looking at the subject.
You got to keep this in mind when you read the Supreme Court's decision on employers covering birth control. If you read that with this lens in mind, then you'll see why they came to that decision. Not that I agree with it at all.
No.
But you understand why they came to that.
Something's got to give in America.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a big, and I've been feeling it since the beginning of the pandemic. I hope that my mic is close enough to my face.
Miriam.
What?
There could...
Are you gonna say something funny or not? Because then I'm gonna stop laughing.
We could be sucked into a black hole and I would hear your voice like eons away.
I'm so fucking loud.
Yeah, you are.
But that's, that works for me. When you're tiny, when you're a small person and you grow up in communism, you have to let you have to let the people around you know that you're there. Anyways, point being.
Yeah.
What was I fucking saying? I said something about, God damn it. Why did I just forget exactly what I was talking about?
I just said the Supreme Court decision about employers covering birth control, and that came from First Amendment rights, people's rights to be stupid, ignorant, racist, anti-mask, etc., etc.
Right. And then I completely lost my train of thought.
Yeah.
But regardless, yes, I was saying that I think since the pandemic, we are seeing a big divide between generations.
I think, we're seeing a big divide between generations and bodies of people, social classes, wealth classes, political classes. Everything's getting divided.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't understand and I hope to God that when I get to a certain age in my life that I don't become this person that is afraid of change. Mm-hmm. Like literally inherently afraid of change because you feel like change is going to destroy whatever you've built. When change doesn't have to do any of that. Change just means that there's going to be change for certain people, and that's a good thing. You can keep your house. You can keep your fucking guns if you want. That's fine. You know what I mean? But at this point, when I'm seeing a lot of, not just in the South, but in general, like older people seeing this pandemic as like, and like the mask issue, which is the most ridiculous fucking issue. I can't even believe that it's an issue. Yeah. This is something that's like, people feel like that their rights are being infringed upon.
I think of all like the...
A lot of them are older, and you have to agree that a lot of them are older people.
But I think the people that you don't see a pushback from are the centenarians who were alive during the Spanish flu, who grew up as a child wearing a mask.
Yeah.
They are the ones that we need to listen to because they went through this. And they know. But
they say that back in the day, they were anti-maskers as well.
They were anti-maskers.
That society actually, as a whole, would like persecute and shun them because they were so toxic to what people were trying to achieve, and they were so considered insane.
The anti-maskers.
Yeah, they were anti-maskers back then.
Yeah.
And society was literally, they would get beaten up. they would get haggled and harassed because they were so against wearing a mask when it's about protecting people. So what we had back then, we're definitely having it here, but you would think we're so much more advanced in science.
Let's double back for a second. They get haggled.
Not haggled, like haggled.
Yeah, look at that guy.
Give me your money, you
Look at that guy without the mask, huh? $5 for your shoes, huh? $5.
Hey, sir.
$6 for the laces. My apologies.
This is about a mask. I don't care. Give me your money. No, not haggled. Sorry. Harassed. I was trying to say harassed.
Harangued.
Yeah, and of course they were considered like vermin in society,
And
as
now
they should be.
and now we're just clearing off. Oh, you don't want to wear a mask? Let's pull up a seat at the table for you so you can speak your piece and have your say. This is a legitimate viewpoint,
right? And they're yelling at the poor essential workers that are trying to do their job. They're trying to keep themselves safe. They're there for. You don't want to wear a mask for like at most 20 minutes that you're going to be somewhere. They have to wear a mask for 8 to 9 to 10 hours. What are you bitching about?
Well,
the entitlement.
It's that Isaac Asimov quote. There's this false, and this is loosely what the quote is. It's like there's this false notion that my knowledge is just as valuable as your ignorance. And it's sweeping. And this is Isaac Asimov. This is it's decades old, and it's in the age of information right now, where the access and the speed of information is more valuable than the content of itself.
Yeah,
this is the product. Everybody is more willing to stake their claim and the right to be stupid.
I think we are at such a scary place that part of me is like, I hate these people. I think they're so ignorant. And part of me understands where their ignorance comes from. I try to be empathetic about it. We are in such a scary place in which I don't trust anything I read anymore. I don't trust any of it.
Well, now that Donald Trump is like having all, the Trump administration is having all coronavirus data circumvented. They're not. It's being rerouted away from the CDC and directly to the White House. You're going to see the headline, "Oh, look, we solved the coronavirus. 0 coronavirus death." Yeah.
But I think the ignorance comes from that, not being able to trust anything, and also not being able to sort of like, you're so afraid of the reality of this, which is the reality is that it's scary. The reality of it is that people are dying. And not only that, people are getting permanent damage, and it's not fun.
So for those of you that don't know, I won't talk long about this.
Yeah, but I mean,
I had coronavirus. I got it as soon as Fred's shut down. They found contact tracing to our staff.
Interesting.
Whoa. Me and a few of our staff had it. I had it really bad.
Yeah.
I had a heavy fever, a horrible migraine. I had weakness. The fatigue was the first symptom.
Yeah.
I had a little bit of nausea here and there, but my sinuses and my throat were on fire. I had a cough that felt like sandpaper and a hot stove. My balance in my ear, I felt like just my ears were like swollen and closed off. Like how you get stuffy.
Yeah.
And so and a bunch of other stuff, but those are like the main ones I felt. I talked to CityMD over the phone and on the website. And they said they would not take me in because they're not treating anybody for coronavirus, and they directed me to go to the hospital if they felt my life was in danger. And I was telling you about this. I had a night where I was like, everything going on. A headache so bad I couldn't stand up, and a fever that like I was losing consciousness. And I thought, do I have enough strength to walk to the hospital?
Jesus Christ.
And I didn't. I was like, well, then I'll go to sleep on the recliner, and we'll see how I feel in the morning. And I had a few nights in a row like that. And then eventually, What I did is first thing, I drank a ton of water. I was drinking more than a gallon of water a day.
Yeah.
And I was taking emergency when I woke up and before I went to bed.
I was doing that too.
And I was taking Alka-Seltzer cold and flu and regular over-the-counter Tylenol. And I was taking the recommended doses of both of those. In combination with I cut a lot of the sugar out of my diet and cut out a lot of the alcohol and was just eating a lot of whole foods. I still a couple nights, when I was starting to get my taste back, I would test it by ordering the spiciest pizza I could to see if I could still taste everything. Just get all the toppings.
Yeah.
And part of that was, of course, a treat for myself, but also to see I seriously wanted to see what I could taste and what I couldn't.
Yeah.
And it was interesting, what tasted different on a pizza.
Is your taste and smell back?
Not completely. I was cooking yesterday. I was cooking. One of my basic whole meals is I'll dice up sweet potato, red pepper, green pepper, black olives, sweet onion, and throw some capers with seasoning. And then Lidl's, no free ads. Lidl's makes this great chicken apple sausage. Dice that up, put in some seasoning, and then a couple fried eggs over it. My roommate comes. Pardon me.
Corona.
Fenny comes
Somebody
in.
got the cocoa.
Yeah.
That's what I call it.
He got the Rona.
He got the Rona. Bitch got the Rona.
That is not funny.
It's so not funny.
Oh God.
Yo,
I could have died.
Bitch, you got the cocoa though.
Yeah, I'm alive now. It's cool.
Oh my God. I'm glad you're alive. I'm sorry.
20 years from now, we're gonna have a giant banner and throw a giant party.
Corona party.
Oh, it's fun. Coronavirus is funny now. So, no, she comes out and she's like, "Did you burn something?" And I'm like, "No, I cooked my food and everything tasted normal. And I took the pan off the heat when I was done cooking. It is cooling off, and I will clean it when it's cool. But I do not smell smoke." And she's like, "It's a little smoky in here." I'm like, "All right." Walked around. I opened a couple windows. I'm like, "All right, I still got work to do."
A lot of people are still dealing with it, and that's what scares me the most. It's just the repercussions of it.
Well, I still had some symptoms I had Ides of March. So beginning the first week of April, those heavy symptoms started to go away. And then by May, I think that's when almost all the symptoms went away and I was just dealing with tertiary stuff. And I think by the beginning of June is when I stopped wheezing.
Right.
Because at the end of my breath, I get I sound pretty good now, but that at the beginning of June was still sounding like windpipes.
Jeez.
But I still need to go. But we were talking about this earlier. I still need to go to the primary care physician. Somebody, if I can find one within my network that hasn't stopped taking my insurance and is willing to see new patients, but I got to get my lungs x-rayed.
Yeah. Do you think that there's going to be I think there's been a really an exodus already from New York, but you think there's going to be, it seems like big cities are a lot of people are moving out of big cities.
Yes.
It's the new trend because people are realizing that, number one, it's dangerous. Mm-hmm. Number two, they can work from home. So why would they have to be here anymore?
Yeah.
Number three, New York City has not lowered rent, people.
No, it hasn't.
New York City has not lowered rent. So you're telling me that I'm supposed to still live here, still get a raise of rent every year, and you give me no benefits of living here anymore? I can't go to a bar. I can't go to a museum. I can't go to theaters. I can't sit down at a restaurant, but you're still going to keep the rent up as if I'm living the life here?
I think we're going to see that tackled in the future.
This is when they were supposed to tackle it.
Well, I mean, we all know that there's nothing that Congress is going to do about it right now. There's nothing that they're going to do about it right now. But they'll act on it when we start suffering the full consequences of it. We're not quite there yet, But I agree with you. Something has to be done because the rents are out of control.
No, out of control.
Yeah, absolutely. They're ridiculous. And with the amount of unemployed people, when we get into August, if they don't federally extend this unemployment package, I mean, New York is ready to, I mean, they've already said they're going to work on extending unemployment for people affected by COVID.
They already did extend it, but not the pandemic unemployment.
The pandemic, like the additional pandemic payment.
They have nothing to do with that. That's federal government.
Yeah. The federal money, I think, will probably, now that these states are being hit hard, and even though a tricky governor of Georgia is pulling out all the stops, did you see that the governor of Georgia is suing the mayor of Atlanta for requiring a mask mandate? That's people's right to be stupid.
Right.
People want their right to be ignorant.
But
I think, him as that jackwagon aside, I think now that you're seeing southern states affected and hit very, very hard from this, we'll probably see a renewal of the pandemic package. Maybe not, I don't think immediately, but I think by September.
Yeah, I'm already. Yeah. I've been applying already for jobs, and I'm ready to start work. Mm-hmm. Like, I need to start work. I'm not gonna wait for Congress to do anything. I don't trust this government, and I'm, whatever.
Oh yeah,
we
gotta be ready.
The world keeps on turning. The world keeps moving, and as we can see, even though the pandemic has kept us in a quarantine, the world has kept moving. A lot has happened.
Oh, yeah.
A lot has happened.
Like, New Zealand has eradicated the coronavirus.
Yeah.
How? By wearing masks and contact tracing.
Yep.
And socialized healthcare. But
they also have like 1 million people in their country. So.
They do. But still.
And Sweden, kind of went the other way. They were like, fuck it, let's go.
But Sweden's like mortality rate is, you look at it and it's like, oh, what? Every one out of 100 people died. That's still a lot of people. That's still a lot of people. And you're also talking about, and when people.
But at least they got together and made a fucking choice.
But Sweden's hit very hard right now. They're suffering right now. Because not only, you can't just look at the mortality rate. You also have to look at the infection rate and look at the amount of people that are going to be carrying long-term symptoms with them.
No, it's a scary disease.
Yeah. So when we talk about, like what you were saying, we talk about like how the long-term effect will look in large cities like New York. Mm-hmm. I think we're going to see, well, first thing, Broadway's not returning until 2021. Yeah. And when it does return, it's going to be it's going to be very different.
First come, first serve, like.
Yes, it's going to be, Broadway is going to come back for the rich. And it's going to be
as if it wasn't already the case.
Like, we already have like ticket lotteries, student lotteries, and people rarely have a chance to see that. I saw my lottery tickets for the Waverly Gallery were like.
Oh, I saw that one.
Yeah, my lottery tickets for like $70.
Yeah.
And
I paid around the same. Yeah.
Yeah. Those were like student rush tickets or something.
Do you remember? Yeah. I saw the last day of Broadway. I was there. I saw West Side Story.
Yeah.
That was the last night. I did not know. It was the week right before the shutdown.
That's what.
I didn't like it that much. I was really disappointed. No, but anyways.
But that's what we're going to see. We're starting to see these non-union theaters that are coming back right now that are skirting the union. I don't know if you saw that, the production photos from Beehive the musical going on.
People wearing masks on stage.
It looks ridiculous.
You can fucking shoot me before I fucking look ridiculous like that. And I've looked ridiculous before, my friend. Mm-hmm. I wore a wig one time and it was on the verge of not cool.
Well, I mean the musical problems aside,
I pretended to be half black one time. Not my choice.
Ooh.
I pulled it off though.
That's a conversation that was not had at the time that you played the role, but we have advanced. That's a conversation that we have now.
That would never fly right now. That would never fly. And that wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
That wasn't that long ago.
It was like, what, 5 years ago?
That was like 5 years ago.
Yeah. But I think when theater does come back, you're going to see socially distanced audience seating. I don't think you'll see a mask requirement in the crowd, but you won't with the performers, because the rich will demand to see their performers. And so if it's going to come back, they have to put protections in place for these performers. I think that you will see there will be fewer productions, but I think that you will see more understudies for these productions who will be able to step in. But to be able to pay for these performers, how do you do that? And that's where I think you're going to see more stripped down productions. They're going to skimp on costume,
they've
lights
already
and sound. Yeah.
cut corners, like, in general. I mean, theater is such a fucking, like, startup situation all the time. It's just whatever. Moving on.
Yeah.
Point being, it fucking sucks. Everything's changing, and we're all kind of slowly dying.
Well, that's why I applaud your decision to move to LA, because I think that you're going to see camera work.
I'm taking a chance. I don't know.
But that's the thing. Camera work is already coming.
Controllable.
It's more controllable, and it's already coming back.
Yeah. It's
acting for the camera is coming back.
So I'm taking a chance by moving to a place in which, like, I love New York City. Mm-hmm. I never really thought that I was going to move out of New York City anytime soon, but everything's different now. And I'm seeing a move out of here as just another part of this shit show we call 2020. Speaking of shit show that we call 2020.
Yeah.
So comedy is the thing. Like, I feel like I should honestly be a stand-up comic, because God knows that I actually watch more stand-up comedy than even acting at this point.
So you've gotten good at telling other people's jokes.
No, I don't, like, fucking retell them. I'm just saying I'm a big fan.
Right.
My all-time favorite, like, probably in the top 5, so it's not all-time favorite, but top 5 comedian, Chris D'Elia, is canceled. And I am so hurt and upset, and for both sides of the argument and spectrum, because he has kept me this whole year. I literally would fall asleep to his podcast. It's just him rambling, and he's hilarious, and he is so silly, and I love his comedy. I mainly like his podcast almost more than his stand-up. He's just a funny person. And then all of a sudden it comes out that these receipts, uncompleted receipts, I might add, of a few women, a bunch of women, like a dozen women, that basically were like, yeah, Chris D'Elia kind of like slid into my DMs and like Facebook, like Messenger and shit. And I was like 17 at the time, or I was 18. And then one of them was like, well, I had just turned 16.
Yes.
Right. Yes, it is. The big question is, so as far as the receipts go, Chris actually, there's no proof that Chris ever had sex with any of these women. There's also receipts of him asking how old the girls are, and as soon as the girls go, I'm 16, then he goes, well, how did you get into my show? It's an 18 and above show. I thought you were old enough. Bye. Like, literally him saying bye. And then the same girl years later going, I'm 21 now, and I'm DTF, down to fuck. Right? I think that grooming is not the right word. This word was used to describe what he was doing. He was not grooming these girls. In my opinion as a woman, and seeing the behavior just through the receipts, grooming is you take time to sort of spend time, say certain things to somebody who's you're in a higher level power-wise.
Yeah. He wasn't doing grooming the right way.
He wasn't grooming. He didn't fucking need to groom. He's a good-looking, famous guy. Like, he didn't need to groom anyone into, like, he didn't have to coerce many people.
Well, Drake doesn't need to groom Millie Bobby Brown, but he still does.
But that's a little different, though. They text each other. They have a little bit of they have a friendship. You can groom someone if you have a friendship. Chris D'Elia didn't fucking know any of these girls. He never even met with most of them. Grooming is not the right word. Mm-hmm. Is being stupid and going after younger women like not cool, bro? Absolutely.
Not cool. Not cool.
Not cool.
But I read one of those text chains that he had with one of these women. Mm-hmm. And one of them, like, it's a situation of like, will he, won't he? Like it's so on the nose.
It's on the nose.
And you have to, and you look at what's his fuck that does To Catch a Predator? Chris Matthews.
Chris Hansen.
Chris Hansen.
Yeah.
Chris Matthews is completely different.
Chris Matthews.
So Chris Hansen, yeah. The thing is like, trying to solicit sex from a minor is still against the law, and that's why like Chris Hansen shows up, and these guys know they're fucked. He's like, let's sit down, and have a little talk, just me and you. And there's police surrounding.
They know exactly. Yes.
Yeah, and so, I mean, with Chris D'Elia.
But except for the exception of one, none of these girls were actually underage. He was like talking to 18, 20, 19. Like that's except for the 16-year-old that eventually we know from the text messages that he never actually had sex with.
He never had sex with these women, but was he soliciting sex from any of these women who were under 18?
So, yeah, he was soliciting obviously is a little more like he actually said like let's have sex. So as far as I can see, like he was trying to get in, you know what I mean, with the young girl without proof that she was
that's
old
like
enough.
it's like on the nose. It's like that's the will he won't he moment where I like oh my god, it's like bro, abort. Right. But those are conversations that you do not have with women of that age. And even like me as like, I'm 37.
Yeah.
I'm not taught if the woman is under 21, that conversation is not happening. And even if she is 21, I still don't feel comfortable with it.
I think this situation has like sort of brought things up for me a lot more in just like life in general. It's been a very dark time.
Oh yeah.
I think, and this is a terrible, terrible generalization, but I think that men will always push as much as they can and as far as they can go and try to have sex if they can with the youngest, most possible legal situation that they can have. Meaning that I think men naturally and societally always, for some fucking reason, they want to fuck young women. And as a woman, I can't blame you to a certain extent. So for me, it's like, yes, I can. Like, I totally can because I think it's fucking gross. But I think if men could do it, they would fuck underage girls.
If it was legal?
Yes. Because I feel like it's something that it's intrinsic. It's like young, beautiful, and yes, why, if you can, and especially somebody of power, if they can get away with it, why would they not? I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying it's disgusting.
I think if anything was accepted as a social norm, then anybody would do it.
Right.
If ifs and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas.
Right.
But no, I completely agree. If it was socially acceptable,
right?
Absolutely.
So
but
I feel like it's easier for people of power, especially like a good-looking comedian, to try to push those to test the boundaries of what he's allowed to do, right? Mm-hmm. Like any other guy, I feel like in his situation probably might try. So I think it's very hypocritical to be like, oh, Chris D'Elia, he's a monster. It's like, what about you, bro? Let's see your fucking text messages.
But let me. You can see mine. They're all dad jokes. But circling back on that.
Yeah.
If it was socially acceptable, then absolutely men would. Yeah. However, we've come to the conclusion that it's not. So it's like, I'm at the point where we're like, and people know, we know that it's inherently wrong.
Yeah.
It's inherently wrong because you've got, churches and religious sects and even just, people unaffiliated with religion at all. It's just a bunch of horny pedos that they know it's wrong and they actively circumvent the law to do it anyway. They know that it's wrong.
Yeah.
And they still try to do it. So I think if you're going to say, if it's illegal, then they're going to try and do it. Then, I mean, it's really a very flimsy premise because we know that it's not. It's inherently wrong.
But if you can get away with it, I think a lot of men would.
If you can get away with it?
Yeah, a lot of men would.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, yes, I agree with you, but I don't think that would ever be the case because we know that it's wrong. We know that it's wrong.
I think like most normal, decent men would be like, in general, would be like, I'm mainly unattracted to the fact that I can't even fucking talk to you because you're a child, number one. Right? So a lot of most decent men would be like, I have nothing to talk to you about. Like, this is ridiculous. I think, and I'm a bad proponent of this, but we got to talk about the age of consent. Because if we agree that the age of consent is 18, and I think another comedian made this point before the Chris D'Elia thing, but it was like, if we as a society are going to say the age of 18 is the age of consent, right? Then if Chris D'Elia is talking to a 19-year-old girl as a 37-year-old or as a 36-year-old or a 40-year-old, then you can't say shit about it. Because if we decided that that is the age of consent, I think the age of consent, I would push it to 21, to be fucking honest with you. Because I remember being in my late teens, and my brain was definitely not fully formed to be making. I was obviously not being in an entanglement.
Oh God.
Yeah, in an entanglement with somebody older than like somebody my age, so it's a little different.
Well,
you're messing around with kids like you, and that's fine. You know what I mean?
But it's fully formed enough to sign a deal with the government to take out tens of thousands of dollars in student loans.
It's formed enough for me to literally get myself into debt for the rest of my life, but not formed enough for me to make a decision about sex. So we got to agree. So if we either make the age of consent 18, and if somebody fucks a 19-year-old, we fucking shut our fucking mouths about it.
Yeah.
Or we decide that we're going to raise the fucking age, and then that's it. That's the conversation. But this wishy-washy thing, because like, some of these girls were 21. Shut the fuck up. So, don't try to get a guy. Don't try to come out of the woodwork.
So
woodwork. No, there's a new girl. There's a new girl episode where they like
woodwork.
Whatever. As a 21-year-old, you cannot come 10 years later and be like, when I was 21, Chris tried to fuck me. Of course he did. He was 30.
Come.
What? Come? What?
You said you cannot come 20 years later and be like. And I
didn't even realize I said come. Anyways, the point is, I understand some of these allegations are totally like fair, and these women. I heard one that was even worse. That it wasn't even like about this text message thing. The one that got to me was like that Chris basically was like, "I want you to fuck my friend, and my friend's gonna be waiting for you right here."
How old was she?
I think she was age of consent, but that interaction to me, that's more predatory and sexual harassment than being pedophilia and being anything like that.
That's the angle right there. What these women are reporting, where is the line of what is sexual harassment in this instance? If I slide into some girl's DMs like, hey, I saw your pic. It's pretty banging. I want to fuck you. Yeah. Is that sexual harassment?
God, if that's sexual harassment, I'm harassed a lot. But
because I know exactly. That's a rhetorical question. Of course it is.
No, it is. It totally is. But the other question is, am I gonna? I have guys slide into my DMs, right, and they'll say certain things. I've had older men slide in asking to be my sugar daddy, right, in my Instagram. If
here's my student loan debt.
Yeah, please take it from me, like COVID. But let's say that like that I have a conversation with these men or whatever. 10 years later, I come out and go like, this fucking 60-year-old like tried to do this. It's like, what am I trying to get out of that at this point?
I think that depends. It's very, very subjective. Are you looking for closure, or are you trying to block a Supreme Court nomination?
Yeah, right. Yeah. But
depends on the gravity of the situation.
Absolutely. So certain text messages that I get from men and from young men or whatever, like, yeah, they're sliding into my DMs, but I personally don't feel like a lot of them are threatening. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? There's a little bit of a difference. Sexual harassment is not just like the use of sexual innuendo. It's how is it making you feel? And do you feel a certain level of comfort that is acceptable for you? So it's like certain sexual harassment feels like you could do something with that word. You could do something with that language. But certain sexual harassment, it's a guy from India that's saying, "Hey, beautiful, I like to, have sex with you and touch you." Like, okay, you're in India and you're a creepo.
How does that dialect go again?
That was the worst Indian accent too.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah, let's not. No. So let's not. No. So it's we're in an information age where everybody has more access to information faster, and thus we're learning. And I think it's this double-edged sword we're talking about. People have the right to be ignorant, but we also have the right to know, which is the fantastic half of this coin. That's an excellent half of this coin. And so we're learning so much. We're learning so many great things. And I think we're starting to very clearly define what sexual harassment is, which is great. That's fantastic. We're
having a conversation at least.
Having conversations that needed to be had.
And people are getting canceled, and that kind of brings me to the other point of like, cancel culture is kind of out of control.
I don't think it's out of control, but it's encroaching a line. Look at Aziz Ansari, that incident.
That man's life was destroyed by something that he probably necessarily didn't know that he was doing wrong.
Well, it was ill-advised, but I mean, he misread the situation, and at no point did the woman say, "No, I'm not comfortable with this." Should he have probably known that his celebrity status had more of an influence on the woman's decision? Yes, but now I think that's a conversation that we weren't able to have then, that we are able to have now. And that's why I look at Chris D'Elia's situation, and I think how much, because what we've learned from the Aziz Ansari moment, how much of that do we apply to Chris D'Elia, where it's like, how much is he aware that he's using his celebrity status? Is he purposefully manipulating his power over these women with his celebrity status?
I definitely think what he did was way more incorrect than what Aziz Ansari did. For sure. That was a blatant use of his like celebrity status and like power, of course. But at the same time, it's like, why do we look up to celebrities for our moral compass? Why are we holding them to a certain standard that like, because for me, it's just like, I'm here for you to entertain me and make me laugh. I definitely don't want you to be a rapist, and I definitely don't want you to do that, because I don't think anybody should do that, regardless. But at a certain point, it's like people's careers are being ended, right? How many of us have conversations in our phones that if our bosses saw, that would be the end of our job?
Oh, I hope my boss doesn't like puns and dad jokes. I'd be...
But what I'm saying is like, a lot of us have stuff in our private lives, in our private phones and all these things that if it were to come out, a lot of relationships would be kind of shattered a little bit. Let's be fucking honest.
John Mulaney has a bit about this.
Yeah.
That sucks. You want me to kill him? Or what? I'll kill him for you? You know, he's got a whole bit about this. It's like an email from 20 years old when he was like a stupid undergrad. Yeah.
What I'm saying is like, we are holding everyone to a standard of like, because of this, like, PC culture is, it's crazy. You cannot offend anyone. You cannot say anything. You have to be Jesus Christ himself walking through the world. And this is in any case. Like, I don't even think it's just like a case of like racism or LGBT. It's like everything. You have to tiptoe around everything to not insult someone. And for me, it's just like, when is it gonna? Where's the line?
Well, here's the deal. I think
you're ending people's careers.
Well, first thing is, Ansari's career isn't ended. He was able to have another.
But the light in his eyes have left the building.
I mean, he's had another. He had another season of Master of None. He had another stand-up special. He's doing all right. Well,
the light in his eyes have
a little bit.
It's depleted. It's actually, sad.
But here, I guess my answer to that is, I think it is harder for us, where myself and an ex-ennial, like an elder millennial, and yourself, a full-blooded millennial, this is different for us. And so we have to, take, what is comfortable for us and then learn the change. Because who's nailing this right now?
Gen Z?
The Zoomers.
Yeah.
The Gen Z, they're setting a fantastic example, because they are learning this right now, and they're learning what is appropriate, so they don't have bad behaviors to unlearn. So when I have questions about this, I look at Gen Z and I think, all right, what is the proper terminology? What is the way they're doing it? And a day will come.
But Gen Z learned from us.
I think they learned from us what not to do.
No, not from us. Not from millennials.
I think they learned. I think they learned from
their parents.
They learned from us, and they learned. Okay, what's the next step? And the generation after the Zoomers, the Gen Z, they'll take the next step after, and from Gen Z, and that's And so our answer.
We're supposed to be progressing. We're supposed to be.
And our answer lies with the progressive whatever the progressive generation is in that moment.
Right.
And I think that's where our answers will come from.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I just I'm obviously open to change, but the Gen Zers aren't the ones that are pissing me off. Yeah. What's pissing me off is like
the people our age, people my age, that aren't learning any better. Yeah,
that they're not learning any better. That they're almost like applying their progressiveness on top of their conservativeness from an older generation, and I don't understand that.
If anybody that wears that badge of I'm so progressive, that I have this shield that allows me to do this bad thing because I've earned the right. I've earned this little. I've traded in my progressive karma points to earn this one sin. It's almost how Catholicism works.
Well, they start sounding just as crazy as like the right, the sort of like the conservative right. It starts to sound like a little bit of like what's the word for a progressive Karen?
Karen.
Just a Karen?
Just Karen, yeah.
I don't know. For me, it's like every time I go on Facebook, I want to shoot myself in the head. Because the thing is, like, I don't really have that many conservative friends on Facebook at all. So what I'm seeing is just liberal people yelling at each other, and
they mostly defriended me. I've got a couple of my liberal friends.
Well, you like to talk a lot politics.
That's because I'm right, and they need to be proven.
You're stupid.
I will say this. My conservative friends that defriended me over comments that my other liberal friends have made. When I let people argue whatever they want on my wall, as long as they're not
how does that work out for you?
It works out well for me because it keeps me honest, to make sure that I'm citing good sources, and that I'm not just trying to be. I mean, do you want to be right, or do you want to get it right?
Right.
And I don't. if you want to be right, if you want to win the argument,
Well, good luck.
then it's time to lay down arms and take a step back. If you want to get it right,
Yeah.
then you should be open to the research and viewpoints. And I invite people to discuss even the closed-minded viewpoints, because I learn how to better handle those arguments. And I learn what their perspective is, how they justify it. And I learn, okay, does this person need education? Do they need compassion? Or are they pure evil? And this is where the right to be ignorant, we circle back to people's right to be ignorant, because we don't know how, I think in general, people don't know how to handle that information. And so we give it a seat at the table as if it's a legitimate perspective, instead of calling it out for what it is.
Yeah, but in the process, what we're doing right now is we're alienating our people with different opinions even further, and that's why we're creating this like place in which like we can't even fathom being or befriending or hearing out somebody who's not a conservative and how they see the world.
Well, I think when you cut civics and debate from high school curriculum, and you have a generation. Now a few generations of people
Thank God, that was like my main thing in high school and college.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you love to argue. You're good at it.
I like politics.
Well, luckily I had a government class. I had a close-up government class, and now I don't know what my high school does now. I haven't been there in 20 some odd years, so I don't know what they do. But we have a generation of people, a couple generations, that are not as skilled in interpersonal communication as we are.
Yeah.
And the younger we get, the more we have people that are reliant on, these things and these things.
Yeah.
And less this. So
this is another topic that I wanted to talk about. And I know you don't know about it, but this is like an interesting topic for me. And I had a conversation with this earlier, not earlier, but like later last week, Sunday, with some friends.
Oh yeah, the thing that.
The Jada and the Will Smith situation.
Yeah, I don't know anything about this.
Okay, so a few years ago, like Jada and Will were on not doing well, and they were thinking about separating, right?
Yeah.
So they were kind of doing an open relationship situation where like they could be with other people.
Like
right?
you do.
Right. Jada, who was 43 at the time or 44 at the time, got into a relationship with one of her, I think it was her daughter's friends, who was 23, 22 at the time. Right. She called it, so this came out, now it's been like 6 years since this or something. Yeah. So it came out, and then Jada has that Red Table Talk show.
Yeah.
Right. So her and Will sat down and they publicly addressed the tabloids. And Will was like, so can you clear up what happened? And she was like, what? And he was just like, what ended up happening with us a few years ago? And she was like, that I got into an entanglement she called it an entanglement. She didn't call it a relationship. She called it an entanglement with this kid.
A kerfuffle.
So the thing was, at the time, she's having a marriage problems. This kid, his mom, I think, died. So he's going through a terrible, terrible time. Jada's 44. He's 22, 23. Is it a valid argument to say that this isn't just and people were praising Jada and Will for like talking their marriage out problems in a public sphere.
Yeah.
Right? And everyone's kind of like praising Jada for like, like living her truth and praising Jada for getting into a relationship with somebody else when her marriage was in the rocks, like whatever, empowerment, women empowerment. And then some people are saying, isn't that she took advantage of an early 20-something-year-old who's going through a depression and a terrible time as a 44-year-old woman? Isn't that the same thing that if it was a man doing that, wouldn't we have a problem with that? I know that it's different because, again, men are more threatening in general, physically. than women are.
Well, yes. Doesn't mean that men can't be abused by women physically.
They definitely
still
can. Yeah.
Now, I think we have to be, careful how far we vilify Jada Pinkett Smith.
Nobody is. That's the
Because
problem.
nobody is.
Nobody
okay.
is.
I think, well, first thing, Jada was how old at the time?
44.
44. How old was this boy's mother? How old would this boy's mother have been?
Oh, I have no idea.
Because this screams Oedipus complex.
He was in a depressive, and she even admitted to it that he was depressed. He was going through a tough time because of his mother's death or something like that.
Yeah.
And they found comfort in each other, and they got into a relationship for months. They walked red carpets together. So it was like an actual relationship.
Well, age is relative. Glory is forever. As long, two consenting adults can do what they want. But are we looking at? Because now I'm like
comparing. Is there a power struggle there?
Yeah, there is a definite power struggle. I'm like comparing a.
You looking at?
No, I just saw the shadow of the microphone on your shoulder, and I thought, "Damn, that's a hickey." And then I saw you move your arm, and I was like, "Oh, that's the microphone shadow." I wasn't gonna point it out, but you said so. I thought,
yeah.
Damn, that's a weird flex, but okay. Yeah. That's a place for it. I mean, yeah, a shirt will cover that up. I should. Christ. He can't help you. He's dead. So I think I'm looking at this situation. Are we in comparison to the Delia situation where he's sliding into these, teenage girls' DMs? Is it the same? Is Jada Pinkett Smith, hooking up with his 23-year-old the same?
I'm saying it's not the same, but I'm saying that what she did is more grooming than what Chris ever did. Chris did something completely different. He was predatory, like he was being a predator.
Yeah.
It seemed like to my perspective, it could have been completely normal. He could have been in his right place in mind. Like he could have been like, fuck yeah, I get to like fuck Will Smith's beautiful, gorgeous wife. Like amazing.
Yeah.
Or the kid was in a bad place and she took advantage of it.
Now
that's grooming.
Okay. Is grooming predatory?
Yes.
All right. So my next question. This is a friend of Willow's?
Her kid.
So is this like a college friend, an adult friend? Or
no,
is
he's
this
an artist as well.
He's an artist. So is this somebody that Jada Pinkett Smith knew before this child became of an adult age?
Sorry.
Oh my God, Mary, it's so popular.
No, I put this shit on like fucking.
Did you?
I did on airplane mode.
Did you?
I did. It's my mother.
So
I'm not popular. It's just my mom.
My mom. So that's a question. How long ago did Jada Pinkett Smith and this 23-year-old lover, did they know each other before this?
Yeah, entanglement.
Before this entanglement, like before he turned 18.
I don't know about before he turned 18.
Because if it was before he turned 18, then that is definitely grooming,
yeah.
And I do have a problem with it.
Right.
But if it's something that she knew is someone that she knew as an adult, because we would come down on a man.
We would.
Absolutely. If this is somebody that he knew before she turned 18, if anybody that I knew, any woman that I knew before they were of the age of 18, no, it ain't. No. Not happening. That is a negatory. That is an abort. Wrong. You do not proceed. And so I think in that instance,
it's just interesting. I'm not saying that like.
But but if it's somebody like if it's your child's friend, it's like okay, all right, a child's friend that they knew that you know, but
separation. Before
the separation, but then I still have. It's still a little sticky at that point. Sticky. It's still like, did she know? Was she introduced to this individual after the age of 18?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah. If that's the instance, next, how much of this is Oedipal? Like, is Jada Pinkett the same age? Would this individual's deceased mother be the same age as Jada Pinkett Smith? Do they look alike? Do they have, similar, same type, similar tendencies? The next thing, who was the instigator?
Yeah, the instigator is very
Was
important.
Jada Pinkett Smith like, I can take care of you? Or was it, I'm looking for, where did it come from? And I don't think it's not one answer.
Yeah.
It's like when you look through a kaleidoscope and the light aligns perfectly on just one cell, that there's this just one I didn't even touch it. Just this one opportunity, just this one instance where it could be considered okay and not skeezy. And that's not to say that that's not what they have, what is present, what transpired.
I also think, like, to be honest, we are so clearly bored that this is something that we're talking about, and like it's again, it's like celebrities, especially during this time, have no idea what to do to be relevant anymore. They're literally like killing themselves, like trying to figure out how to make themselves relevant, and then we fall for it because we have nothing else to distract us from the impeding doom of our.
Well, I mean, this people
is not important.
Well, it works. People are talking about it. They're watching the show.
And it works. Yeah. And the only reason that I was interested in it, not because it was a hilarious like red table conversation between Will and her, in which he definitely looked like he was hurt. Like, he looked incredibly hurt.
Oh, yeah,
and she looked completely incredibly proud of herself. Yeah. Like, to me, it was a conversation brought up this weekend of, like, if this was something that was more... hold on.
I need help keeping it
up. If this was something that was, like, another... Like, the gender roles were reversed, that's... Would we be praising her or him if he was?
Well, I think just because of optics, there is praise for her being being a woman and knowing that. I mean, if it were a man, for a long time, men got away with this type of stuff.
Yeah.
And we frowned upon women doing it. So there is a certain amount of praise that is, comes from, anti-sexism. Mm-hmm. So absolutely, it's going to be inherent. But I think my thought is like I said, I don't know. I'm asking a lot of questions and we don't have the answers right now. And I think if these questions I have, if she knew this. If she knew this young man before he turned 18 and his mother would have been the same age as Jada Pinkett Smith and they're the same type.
Yeah.
And she instigated it. Yeah. And she instigated the romantic sexual nature of their relationship, then yes, I would have problems with it. But I don't know that.
Yeah, no.
I don't know that for sure. And I think, let's juxtapose the two. What if this was Chris D'Elia? If it was Chris D'Elia dating his son's female friend.
It's creepy.
Creepy, yes.
It's creepy.
It's creepy.
That's how we would say it.
So we,
so creepy.
so we flip the text.
Yeah.
And we give, also knowing that we give Jada Pinkett Smith a little bit of a break, knowing the sexist history of gender norms.
Yeah.
Now, flip that. We put Jada Pinkett Smith in Chris D'Elia's situation. She's sliding into DMs.
So creepy.
It's creepy.
So creepy.
It's creepy.
It's very creepy. It's creepy both ways.
Yeah.
Anyways, that was something.
Yeah.
But that was good.
Yeah. Well, last thing to talk about today is dating.
Yeah, well, we gotta hit the dating thing for sure. Especially this podcast was sort of one of the big things from the podcast was relationships. So, dating will change.
It has. I think
it has already changed.
It has changed for me. Well, first thing, do you want to talk about your situation? Because you've got stuff going on.
I do have stuff
Yeah.
going on.
This is exciting.
It's very exciting. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm in a relationship, and it's going pretty well, and I'm very happy, and I'm happy that we've been there for each other through this time, even though like he was here in New York and then the pandemic hit and then he left for LA. So he's been in LA since the pandemic, and I visited LA and been with him. But
no, I'm sorry to interrupt. But now, when did you meet, and when did the relationship start, and how did COVID affect it?
Interesting. So that's actually a good thing if we want to talk about like modern relationships. Yeah. So him and I met like the few days before I went to Ireland. So I went to Ireland January 10th. So we literally met like early March.
Yeah.
And then I was seeing him, and I didn't want to get into a relationship with anybody.
When was Ireland?
Ireland was January 9th. So it was early January. So I was dating people.
But like the entire scope of the trip.
I was there for like 10 days.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And we met before I left.
Tinder?
No.
Bumble?
No, we met like most of my actual relationships I've had in my life, not on any dating app. No, we met at a bar, which is like actually funny because I've never really met a boyfriend at a bar before, ever. But anyways, so that happened, and I was dating other people. He wanted to have a relationship. I did not want to have a relationship. I was still working on myself from my last relationship. I was fixing things and doing a lot of self-discovery. And I was finally at a place where I was like, I'm single and I'm happy. Like, I'm happy. I don't want to fuck this up. I'm good. Like, you know? So I was having a good time dating other people while dating him, while seeing him. And that's something that I was honest with him about the whole time. And I think honesty is very important. When you're dating other people, if you have a certain relationship in which like you feel like one of the person is more invested in the relationship than you are, I feel like you should have a conversation as to like what are the expectations are and where you're at. And he was invested, and at the time I didn't want to be invested. I wanted to be open and free to see other people and explore my options, and I did. We got closer before COVID. But then COVID happened, and I already had a ticket to go to LA for my like birthday, the week after my birthday. And we had planned to kind of probably take the trip together at the time before we were in a relationship. But I booked my ticket, and because he couldn't get out of his job situation or whatever. Point being, COVID happened. He moved back to LA because he didn't have really a support system here, and he obviously lost his job as well. Being in like having somebody to talk to through this time that doesn't necessarily have to be there physically has definitely made this experience much more digestible.
Bearable,
bearable. Like I was talking to friends all the time, and having friends and having him was like, that's the way that I've been able to cope with physically being removed from my relationships. Again, the more that you aren't physical with someone and you put that effort into getting to know someone, like the more you honestly connect with people. Because like, not that him and I weren't physical before, but the physicality of it was completely done. There was only emotion and verbalization. And I think that definitely like brought us together, and feelings even like progressed even more, and we definitely took our time. I mean, it's been like 7 months since we've been seeing each other, and we just kind of became official this week. Not kind of, we're official now, but like it's been this week, and it's interesting because like I do see the progression of dating as it's going to be more of like we're going to talk via our phones and our computers before we actually start having a physical relationship. And I think that's not a bad thing.
You built this relationship on intimacy first.
Yes.
A lot of communication.
Yeah.
and you got to know each other first, and that
Yeah.
helps. That helps build a foundation. It helps to better build a foundation.
Right. But also you can't forget you have to have a plan of being physical with each other at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Because then if you start getting stuck on this, where does this go? Do you know what I mean? Like, what's the end game here? Because we can't do this forever.
Well, obviously not.
Yeah.
But I mean, the pandemic is a pandemic. You do what you have to do for health and safety. But
Right.
you came up with the plan.
Yeah.
You came up with that plan to ask, and you both knew what your intentions were.
Mm-hmm.
And so, coming to the agreement, your nesting partner agreement,
Yeah.
out here, which, it's important to have that, physical contact and that touch with a partner. I've told my roommates, because they're both in relationships. I said, they are, now that the city is opening back up, we're entering a different phase, your partners are welcome to be here. But, they need to, you got to be on them about being just as, safe and vigilant about their
Keeping the
health.
circle close as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like when I went to LA, I hung out with the same people in his group the whole time I was there.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody else was like being introduced into the group. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And those were the same people that he was working with and the same people that he was living with.
Mm-hmm.
It's just he has his circle, and my circle has been literally this apartment. So my circle has been even smaller than his because it's easier in California. You can get in a car. Your friends live close by. You don't have to go to fucking Brooklyn and take the train.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to travel for an hour to see your friends. Do you know what I mean?
Got it.
Yeah. So it's easier for them to keep that circle close and keep it tight and still be in physical contact with each other because they know they're not fraternizing with other people, and that's sort of, I felt, I was a little worried like 4th of July weekend, but everything was shut down in LA for 4th of July because they expected a spike.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of like hung out in the marina on one of their boats. And again, it was the same people that I had been with the day before. It was outside, it was intimate, and we were fine. So again, like, I think that the phone is necessary right now in this situation. But if you're somebody like me who I've done long distance before with an unseeable end, that's not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're just doing this for months and then you don't know when you're going to actually be with each other again, it's really hard to keep investing yourself into somebody that that you don't know if you're ever going to really be in a physical relationship with.
And I know that you've got first-hand experience with long distance relationship, and I think that's absolutely right. I think you're absolutely right there. I mean, you made a plan on how you were going to move forward, and you both agreed on it.
And I had a moment during COVID in which, like, I had a moment of like, okay, I wasn't sure about the move. I kept going back and forth in my head. And I was like, okay, you're not going to move. You're not going to move. I got scared. And I was like, you're not going to move. You're going to stay in New York. You're going to maybe move next year, the beginning of next year when things mellow out. You're going to do that. And as soon as I said that into my head, then I was like, I need to start removing myself from the situation with him, taking a step back. Because if I'm not going to be over there, I don't want to keep investing emotionally for him and for me into a relationship that's not going to go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's not fair.
Yeah.
Because he deserves to try to connect with somebody else, and I deserve to try to connect with somebody else who's going to be here,
Mm-hmm.
So when I did that, I took a step back. I told him about it.
It's very insightful.
Yeah. I told him about it. I was like, I'm taking a step back because, like, I'm not moving over there anytime soon, and that's not fair. Like, and I need to start finding connections here in New York. Yeah. And that was sort of painful, but, like, and uncomfortable, but I started talking to people on Hinge, and I started connecting with other people.
Hinge is a good app.
It's good. It's good. I haven't. I've met people on it that are good. I haven't started a relationship with any of them, but they're nice.
I've talked. Well, I gotta tell you, I've got Tinder and I've got Hinge. I'm gonna drop Bumble. No,
Yeah, I never liked Bumble.
No, Bumble sucks.
Yeah, I never liked that one.
Bumble is like, well,
I don't like doing the work.
well, that's where I think every woman that I talk to is like, you've got to be this tall and make this much money, and I'm looking for relationship only. You got to, and it's like, wow, why don't you just, sign up
Shoot
for,
me in the head.
I'm sure we can clone someone for you and make the perfect specimen. I mean, so I'm done with Bumble. It sucks. For men, it sucks.
It's so superficial,
Yeah.
and I'm the first one to like agree that like women we can be, and I'm learning. The older I get, obviously, the more that I'm like, wait a minute, like. So you want like this is a joke that I've had lately. It's like what I wanted in my head this whole time is a sensitive, emotionally immature suit. Never gonna happen. If he's a suit, he's definitely not sensitive. Like, it's not gonna happen. Like,
Yeah.
It's like you either want one or the other. It's like it's gonna be very difficult for a woman to find a 6'3" suit that's gonna be there for you emotionally, and he's going to like he's gonna have an emotional maturity that really like fulfills your needs as a woman. Like, a suit thrives on suppressing his emotional maturity. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's what a suit thrives. And it's like, I've dated those guys, and it's always like, well, fuck, why can't he meet me where I'm at emotionally? It's like, well, he can't. So it's like, I need somebody for me, it's like, right now, it's much more important that you are emotionally mature, are a nice person, kindness is very important. Sure, I want you to be
hot.
I want you to be hot. I want you to be attractive, but I'm not looking for a 6-pack anymore. I'm not looking for you to make $1 million anymore.
Oh, now you tell me. Yeah.
I'm not looking. Those things are not. They're not as important for me anymore. Like.
Remember that me, you, and Jamie had a conversation about this a year or two ago. Oh, I said the older I get, the less looks matter, and you're like, "What are you talking about?" And now, do you understand me?
No, I understand it. I've always have. I knew that I was gonna get to this point at some point, but it's like it's also like I'm not. It's not like I'm dating like.
So is your dude butt ass ugly?
No, he's not.
Yeah, prove it.
Prove it?
Yeah, prove it. Let's see it. Because I've never seen this guy before.
I don't have a lot of pictures.
Oh, how convenient.
No, because we don't. We just started dating, like, officially. I can show you... Oh, God.
His 8-pack abs.
No. No, I just, like...
While you're looking for that,
Yeah.
I will say, like, since the beginning of COVID, my dating app activity has kicked up significantly.
Oh, yeah? Well, I would think so.
Oh, yeah. And I see lots of women in the New York area
Don't show it.
lowering their standards and like, all right, that dude's good looking. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
Wait a minute. Of course he's good looking. Yeah. I'm not saying I'm just saying what I like about him mainly is not the physical. I like who he is.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah, I like who he is as like a person.
I'm very proud of you.
Yeah, that's like, guys, this is like groundbreaking for me.
Yes, it is. Yes. Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's so groundbreaking. Oh, God, I've been...
Well, Mariam, why do you like so-and-so? Well, he's hot.
He's got a 6-pack.
He's cute. Did you see his car?
I thought you were thinking to say his cock. Did you see his cock?
Didn't I say that? I thought I did.
No, it's not.
So anyway, I have had like a couple like conversations, a couple like, virtual dates, and most of them like in the time of COVID sounds like a Merchant Ivory film, but Love in the Time of COVID.
It's gonna be a movie, you know it.
Oh yeah. It's we got to get on that.
I know, right? Like fucking now.
But fucking like
Lip Sync Battle already took my idea from when I was like 13. I can't fucking believe it. I honestly thought of that when I was 13. I was like, there should be a show in which you lip sync and you have to be the best lip syncer and you have to make it into performer and whoever does it best wins.
Well, that's like...
And then it became a fucking show.
Well, that's
I'm
like...
owed millions of dollars.
Like 13-year-old girl slumber parties are, of course. It's a game show now. But like some of the women, I haven't, it's been nice talking to them. Haven't really felt a connection to many of them. Actually, to any of them. But I do sense there is an uptick in desperation.
Well, yeah, I would think so.
Oh yeah. I can tell, like, if a woman is going out with me, if it's obvious, if she's making it obvious that she is informing me that she's lowering her standards by going out with me, or that I should feel lucky to have the privilege of being on a date with her, then I'm done. I'm out. I don't deserve...
No, you don't.
I deserve much better than being treated like it's a privilege of being bestowed by her presence. So I'm done. It's like one of the most unattractive things a woman can do.
Yeah, well, I think it's good. It's fine if you both think that if... I feel like as a woman, especially right now, that's kind of like the times right now. Because I feel like women, a lot of women kind of have settled for less in the past.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of women are like realizing like, oh fuck, like women don't really need men that much anymore.
No.
At all.
No.
It's a matter of want.
Well,
it's not a matter of need.
God, did you hear my shoulder crack?
I definitely
That was
did.
loud.
Certainly
I've been doing push-ups every day.
I know. I've seen.
I think with the uptick of, with the increase in open, go ahead. Well, as I address our audience here, I think with the, thanks, I was getting pretty warm.
No, it's so hot,
yeah. With the increase in open bisexuality and homosexuality and all the other different sexualities that come with that, there's more... we're still recording, right? Did it turn off again?
I don't know.
It's off?
It was fully charged.
When did it cut off?
I don't know. Same thing happened last time.
Can that thing operate while plugged in? Can you just leave it plugged in? I'm sorry, that sounded very snippy. I didn't mean to sound snippy.
Can you leave it while plugged in?
Oh my God!
I don't know how much it recorded. I mean, we recorded, but it was on like... Oh, it said it's just memory card is full. It's just too big of a file because we've been doing this for a while. Yeah, we're at 1.
See how far we get. So,
all right, we had a little bit of technical difficulties there because it's really hard to like do. You need a producer for this.
yeah, you know what podcast I've been actually I've been watching them on YouTube because it's very fun. It's the Darkest Timeline podcast.
I don't know what that is.
That is Joel McHale and Ken Jeong.
Okay.
And it's like part like Community,
Yeah.
where they've had like all the main Community characters except for Chevy Chase come back on the show. But also they talk a lot about COVID because Dr. Ken, he's an actual credited doctor, and Joel McHale has done lots of interviews. He's conducted lots of interviews and has accumulated a lot of COVID information and has stayed up to date and is very connected. And so I got a lot of my COVID information from watching that podcast. And Community was one of the shows that I binged. I'd only seen like 2-3 episodes.
I started binging on it. I just never...
Yeah.
I started to just get distracted.
I watched the whole thing. I stuck with it. A lot of people said, season 4 kind of sucked. And then after Donald Glover left, it lost its magic. But I stuck with it, and I'm really glad that I did. Because it has to be one of the best series finales that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it left me so conflicted. I loved it, and I hated it, and I wouldn't change it.
Yeah. Wait, go back to your
Yeah, my apologies. So
your apology.
No, my apologies. For getting sidetracked.
Oh, I was like, who did you wrong?
Who
did you wrong on Bumble?
No. Anyway, I'm getting rid of Bumble because it sucks.
Okay.
But anyway, I think we last talked about how dating is different on these apps. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I've talked to a lot of women over Zoom. I haven't connected with any of them.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep my Tinder and my Hinge, and and I think admittedly part of that too was right before COVID hit. Mm-hmm. There was someone in town. I was really interested in her, and we were going to go out for drinks, and then the pandemic hit. And, I messaged her, here and there. And then she actually ended up just moving away. Like, she let me know that, she's done with New York and, moving on with her life.
Yeah.
And so, and best of luck to you. More power to you.
Right.
And, I wish her all the best. And, that's just what it is. And I think, part of that, it's hard to, I think, have honest dates with other people if you still have feelings for somebody else.
Completely.
Absolutely. So
completely.
I realized that I wasn't being honest with myself or with the other women that I had met on these apps. So I paused all my dating app activity, and now I'm at a point where I'm ready to get back into it.
Okay.
So. But I did notice a lot of, with a lot of these apps, with a lot of the conversations I was having, I noticed that the women were desperate. There's more desperation and a more like lowering of standards. And like, what I said.
Oh my God.
No, and it's like, I get it. Some women who wouldn't normally swipe right on me were starting to swipe right. I get it. But one thing, yeah, I'm proud of you for your connection. Women are finding, they trying to make a connection, trying to establish that. And what I said before, if it's very apparent from a woman that they're lowering their standards or like, extending an olive branch, letting me know, you're lucky that I'm going out with you. That's a huge turnoff, and I will not.
No, because nobody deserves to make you feel lesser than.
Yeah, exactly. My mother raised me to believe that I'm a catch.
And you should feel like that.
I am.
And I think, like, if somebody's going out of their way to make you feel like you're not, then that's something on them. They're trying to, like, make you feel shitty about yourself so they can feel better about themselves.
Oh, yeah. And, like, a lot of times I've like, pulled away immediately.
Yeah.
When, like first date, and like sometimes I've had some women message me back and be like, hey, is everything all right? I'm like, yeah, it's fine. And don't go out again.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and if they push it, then I'll say, yeah, if they push it, then I'll say, yeah, you made me, I don't think there's a compatibility. You made me feel like you weren't as interested in me.
And it's not fun when it's not reciprocal.
Yeah. And so absolutely, I'm not one to beat a dead horse. Like I just like, I I think some people have accused me of investing too much in first impressions, but still, I think you can learn a lot from those first impressions if that's the experience that you have.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I'm glad that you're, I think this is a good time again to connect without the whole like, let's go on a date situation. Like, you can go on a date after you know each other a little bit more. Like, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
And that would almost be like, it's going to be almost like even more exciting because if you do go on a date, it's going to be physical for the first time.
Yeah.
And that's a whole sort of new thing in and of itself,
So I'm trying to do the push-ups every day.
I think working out is the best
Yeah.
thing. And I think, like, as a country, especially during this time, we've done a terrible job educating the public. Like, this is the perfect time for people that, like, you're not working, you're not stressed out because you're hustling or anything like that. Why not focus a little bit on getting healthy?
Yeah.
To be able, and if you do get sick from COVID, like, be able, help your body fight this disease. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The government has done a terrible job educating
Oh,
people.
yeah.
We've only focused on, well, let's get hydroxychloroquine into you. Let's get this. Let's do that. And how about going on a run, getting some vitamin D, and eating healthy? How about that?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we talk about that? Anyways, guys,
You're absolutely right.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been a magical experience. What a wonderful experience we'll have with our friends today.
I know.
What do we want to take away from this? Do we have any closing thoughts?
Closing thoughts is that the world is falling apart a little bit, but we're all going through something together, and I think nothing is permanent. So we're gonna get past this at one point, like some point. We don't know what the point is, but keep your connections alive. Keep them. Look for new connections. There's nothing wrong with new connections.
Don't be creepy.
Don't be fucking creepy. Don't be a predator.
Err on the side of caution.
Yeah. Don't be a predator. Respect.
Yeah.
And let's all, try to get through this and to try to figure out a way to get back to work.
Love in the time of COVID.
Love in the time. It sounds like a Federico Garcia Lorca fucking play.
Like you said, it's a Merchant Ivory film. It's gonna happen.
That's Love in the time of cholera. It's like whatchamacallit. Who wrote that again? It's oh my god, I used to be so smart.
Love in the Time of Cholera.
Yeah.
That was a movie.
It was a book first.
Yeah, I remember the.
I'm being such a.
I remember the
movie.
movie.
I know who this is.
With Edward Norton and
Gabriel Garcia. Gabriel Garcia.
Bernal.
No,
That's
Gabriel
an actor.
Garcia
Lorca.
No, not Lorca.
Frederica Lorca.
No, Love in the Time. Guys, I can't leave. Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I was so close. Gabriel Garcia Marquez.
Gotcha.
He actually, I think he got the Nobel Prize for literature. Actually.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah, well, he's dead now, but
No.
he's amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, much love. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and try to stay positive.
The only dependable thing about the future is uncertainty. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst, and reach out to the ones you love.
And love your friends. Love your friends. But try to still live your life. You still have a life. Think about that.
Socially distance.
Wear a fucking mask.
Wear a mask. All right, we got a lot of buttons. There's a lot of.
There's a lot of fucking. That's it. You were like, is there a button? And I was like, well.
And then.
But then
right.
you should also okay. All
Hey,
right,
hockey's back.
All right, that's not even a button. Jesus. Okay, love you guys. Stay safe. Bye.
Bye.